It's too expensive. It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through and all the bullshit with all the permits and all the. What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible. They suck as much tax money out of you as possible. And then they still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a disaster. It's still a woke show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like no course correction at all. They're going further and further into la la land. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys.
So the storm in California might have died down, but guess who's still fuming at the top? Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson. These two are relentless, claiming Gavin Newsom dropped the ball and must be held accountable. On a recent Rogan podcast episode, they teamed up and let him have it. If you crave raw, unfiltered political firepower, this one's for you. Smash that subscribe button and let's get into it.
The whole state is just so poorly managed. It's so frustrating and confusing. And then he gets on TV and pretends like everything's great. Mm-hmm. And California's the best. We have the best state. We have the most amazing economy. And like, you're out of your mind, dude. You've ruined this state. Like, personally ruined it.
The storm clouds may have cleared in California, but the political thunder is still rumbling, and at the center of it all are Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson. Both of them are calling out Governor Gavin Newsom, arguing that his leadership has failed the state on multiple fronts. In a recent episode of Rogan's podcast, the two didn't hold back, delivering a blunt and fiery critique of Newsom's record. If you're a fan of honest, no-holds-barred political commentary, this episode hit like a freight train. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into the fallout.
No one who is alive today had ever experienced a true pandemic. And I'm hoping that now that this is over, people are going to, recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it.
So what do you tell those people?
Vote Republican.
Joe Rogan came in swinging, accusing Governor Newsom of squandering California's enormous potential. Rogan sees the state as a place that should be thriving, a beacon for opportunity and innovation. But instead, he said it's been in decline. Rogan, who moved out of California in 2020, pointed to a culture of political correctness and what he called cancel culture as major problems, along with what he described as misguided leadership. He argued that under Newsom, California went from being a place of prosperity to a state struggling with rising crime, a homelessness crisis, and a mass exodus of residents and businesses. For Rogan, it wasn't just about policies. It was about priorities. Flashy promises, he said, replaced real action, and ideology was put before everyday people. Rogan has criticized Newsom before, especially during the pandemic, and this latest takedown felt like the continuation of a long-simmering frustration.
This guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
The development plan.
Watch this. Play this.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas about some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
The big smile on his face. Look at the little wiggle he does with his shoulders. Speculator, watch this. Talking to Josh. Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. It's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. And he's saying we're move forward. We're going to move forward on that. These people lost their homes.
Rogan pointed to Newsom's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic as the moment everything truly unraveled. He slammed what he described as excessive lockdowns that crushed small businesses, caused mental health struggles, and did little to stop the spread of the virus. He highlighted prolonged school closures and heavy-handed mandates, which he felt hurt working families the most. And according to Rogan, these weren't just unfortunate outcomes, they were signs of deeper flaws in Democratic leadership. He accused Newsom and others of pushing restrictive policies while ignoring public concerns, silencing debate, and rejecting facts that didn't fit their narrative. Rogan argued that the pandemic exposed an over-reliance on control and optics, instead of clear thinking and practical solutions. He even brought up how Newsom handled the recent wildfires, saying the same issues were playing out again. Too much talk, not enough effective leadership.
Newsom talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. California has all this industry. Hey, they're all thinking about moving.
Thank God.
The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. If it was like every business could instantly pull up roots and replace everything and have everything running in a week at the other place, they'd all be gone.
And that's exactly why Rogan has been urging Californians to consider voting differently. To look beyond the party lines and focus on leadership that actually delivers. He compared Newsom's crisis management to that of former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who Rogan said stepped up during emergencies instead of hiding behind press conferences. Newsom, on the other hand, faced criticism for attending upscale dinners without a mask during lockdowns, even as strict rules remained in place for everyone else. Rogan argued that Californians need leaders who show up when it matters, not politicians chasing attention or future campaign headlines. It wasn't about partisanship, he insisted. It was about competence, honesty, and a real sense of responsibility. And in his eyes, Newsom fell short on all of those counts.
It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through and all the bull with all the permits and all that. What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible. They suck as much tax money out of you as possible. And then they still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a fucking disaster. It's still a woke shit show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like no course correction at all. They're going further and further into la la land. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you guys.
Rogan didn't stop there. He criticized California's economic policies, calling them devastating for small businesses. He pointed to Assembly Bill 5, which reclassified many independent workers, making it harder for freelancers and small businesses to survive. He also questioned the state's minimum wage increases, arguing they may have backfired by forcing restaurants and other local establishments to close their doors. Rogan brought up unemployment fraud, which cost the state billions, and suggested the burden of those errors was now falling unfairly on business owners through higher payroll taxes. His message was clear: the regulatory environment in California, combined with what he saw as ineffective governance, was turning the state into a cautionary tale. Not because of its people or potential, but because of poor decisions at the top.
Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office?
And the bigger picture? Rogan argued that despite California's immense wealth and natural advantages, many quality-of-life issues are worse there than in other states. He pointed to major problems in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, including homelessness, crime, and unaffordable housing. Meanwhile, companies were packing up and heading to states like Texas and Florida, chasing friendlier policies and lower costs. For Rogan and others who've left, the California dream feels like it's fading fast. And they're not alone in thinking so. Mel Gibson also weighed in, delivering his own criticism of Newsom's leadership and urging voters to take action.
Get your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Mel Gibson didn't pull any punches. In a rare political statement, he called for Governor Newsom to be voted out, citing what he viewed as a lack of leadership during high-stress moments, especially during protests surrounding immigration enforcement. Gibson argued that while peaceful demonstrations began with purpose, they spiraled into unrest and vandalism, and Newsom didn't do enough to protect communities. Rather than stepping up to ensure safety for everyone involved, Gibson claimed the governor let politics drive his decisions. To him, it wasn't about being tough or cracking down, it was about being accountable and protecting people's lives and livelihoods. He saw Newsom's response not as principled, but as negligent.
You're a fool, blaming Trump. What are you doing for this destruction of these animals destroying Los Angeles. Are you there, talking calmly with them, you fool? They would burn you down like they're burning the cars and the American flag, with no regard for humanity. This is not about Trump. This is about protecting the people from these animals and criminals trying to destroy us. And our police force, are they supposed to stand there, let rocks hit them and kill them? Who's going to save them? You? You're a disgrace. You're nothing but a lying dog for the hopes of becoming the president one day.
Gibson also criticized what he called performative leadership. He argued that instead of addressing the root causes of issues, like immigration reform or economic inequality, Newsom focused on optics. A public confrontation with federal authorities, Gibson claimed, was more about making headlines than solving problems. Meanwhile, Californians were watching their cities struggle. Businesses were hit. Trust in government declined. And as frustration mounted, Newsom, according to Gibson, tried to reshape the narrative rather than fix the situation. He said what California needed wasn't a governor with good PR. It was a leader with courage, clarity, and a real plan for change. And he wasn't alone. Actor Jon Voight also joined in, sharing his own sharp take on Newsom's record. So with all this baggage, critics are questioning how Gavin Newsom could possibly be floated as a future presidential candidate. California has the resources to be a national model, yet under Newsom's watch, it's been held up more as a warning. Deteriorating infrastructure, businesses leaving, rising costs, and persistent crime, these aren't small setbacks. They're systemic failures, according to voices like Rogan and Gibson. And if Newsom can't turn one state around, they argue, how could he manage the entire country? His defenders may point to progressive values and bold ideas, but his critics say the results just don't match the rhetoric. Smooth speeches aren't the same as real outcomes. From talk of 2028 to talk of a recall, Gavin Newsom remains one of the most polarizing figures in American politics. And as more public figures speak up, voters are starting to listen. If you found this video eye-opening, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've got more coming your way.